I had a lot of bitterness towards men, in the church. And I feel like I resented them. Like when they talk about submission and you see the abuse, you see infidelity, you see divorce. And I was just confused. I was confused. And I felt like I brought that into my marriage on a very subtle note, but kind of like a smoldering anger, like a very low key bitterness in my own heart. Right.
I didn't feel it at all.
But over time, well, I talked about it a lot though.
Dang, I was not listening.
Okay. Well,
I don't remember any of them conversations.
But here's the good thing. I would say, even though I felt that in my heart and towards like men in my marriage, I was grateful because I had a good man. Like I could not say that in my marriage. Right? We had our own problems, we had our own issues, but I'm like, he's a good man. And he is not treating me how I'm not having some of the struggles that these other women are having. I don't have to worry about him cheating on me. I don't have to worry about the abuse. I don't have to worry about like even him trying to dominate me. Because even though we had like weird power dynamics in the beginning, it was weird.
Mm-hmm.
But he was not trying to dominate me or like treat me as like a servant or as like like, oh, I'm just like the second class citizen as a woman. He wasn't doing that. So although I did have this resentment, and maybe it was mainly towards God.
It was.
Maybe it was mainly towards God, really, because I'm just like, you're telling me this is all that I am, or so I thought. It was the people that was speaking for God who was telling me this is all that I am, but it wasn't God who was telling me that. And it wasn't until now till I got into my own deep dive in the word that I realized, oh, I see what God is telling me.
Yes.
And that really helped me to release my heart to God in this specific area when it comes to marriage and women and, all these different things. But I think that's how it affected our relationship. I don't know if you wanted to add to that.
Yeah, no, I mean, the same exact way it affected you, it affected me in our marriage. Mm-hmm. Whatever we learned coming up, right? Faith and marriage, how it's supposed to work, it just left with a whole bunch of confusion. Mm-hmm. I was just so confused. I was just so confused. I was constantly confused. I was in the world. I was less confused, as a matter of fact.
They got it straightforward for you.
Less confused.
1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
I was talking with the people who worked at my job, who were my age or older, a little bit or younger, and they told me I made the mistake of a lifetime. They kept and everybody at my school, they said that. You know what I mean? I remember one time I was doing a play at the school, and I was paired up with this attractive woman, and they're like, "Aren't you so sad you got married?"
Oh, this was at university.
Yeah, university. Mm-hmm, yeah. Mm-hmm. Aren't you so sad you got married? Because I had to flirt with her, and we were like dating in the scene.
Yeah, I remember.
Aren't you so sad you got married? Da, 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 da. And she was talking, and everybody just honed in on it. And I still remember that conversation to this day because just how ubiquitous, like how everybody decided like that was a mistake. So in the world, they had it because I would go here, they would tell me I made a mistake. I would go to my job, they say the same thing. Yeah. They'll tell me I'm supposed to be partying. They'll tell me I'm supposed to be having sex. They tell me I'm supposed to be sowing my royal oats. They got
the formula down pat.
I'm supposed to be experimenting. That's the word.
Yeah.
Figure out what I like, what my body likes. I'll come into the church, I'll just be so confused, bro. And so because I was so confused. I was dealing with too much. Mm-hmm. On the outside, the world's advice. On
and
the
they
inside,
just weren't saying enough in the church.
They're not saying enough.
Everything was surface, especially with us growing up.
I just didn't know how you can get 1 + 1 and then get 7. I'm like, not enough input to get that kind of output. The answer you're looking for is 2, and you're telling me 10. I'm like, I don't see it. But anyway, yeah. So there's a lot of confusion, and that's what really just pricks my heart for people getting married now, where, like I said, just led on a mission to help dismiss that confusion, demystify
clarity.
At least listen. You don't gotta believe my answer, right?
Yeah.
But at least I can give you an answer.
Yeah.
I can talk to you.
Yeah.
I can give you education. I can provide some tools. Mm-hmm. You can say my tools are trash, but at least you had a tool to look at where I didn't have any. Mm-hmm. Okay, I didn't even know I needed them. Mm-hmm. Right, and so that's why I'm so excited to talk about the tools we have for people and talk about the education we can give on different topics, modern education, and especially talk to our couples who are underserved. Man, that's a blessing. That's a mission, a commission I'm grateful to have.
Mm-hmm. So that was then. Let's talk about now and how faith has been a part of our marriage. We have learned so much about how faith intertwines with marriage. And now, like, if you're watching this, if you're listening, you can't tell, but if you're watching this, I am smiling a big, great smile because now that I've really understood it, I feel like it has transformed our marriage to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And we're still learning because I think there's still certain things like it's hard for me to pray in front of Junior. That's something that's like it's weird but true. Because it's just like, those are things that I'm still working on. But other than that, like how we intertwine faith into marriage, it feels like the real deal. It like you take off all those layers and all those, oh, well, it has to look like this, it has to look like this, and this is what your marriage looks like, all this stuff. And when you really get into the nitty gritty of what it is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah, no, it feels like it belongs there. Mm-hmm. Where faith at first was like, I don't know if this puzzle piece fits. I don't know if we're gonna keep doing this. Right? Some people they start with faith in their marriage, and then one person falls off, and the other person's like, yeah, whatever. I'm gonna just keep going because I was raised this way. Right? I never could see someone outside of the faith coming into the faith now as a married couple unless it actually works, unless they're actually doing it for real.
Yeah.
And that's the problem sometimes. You're so familiar with it, you're just doing the outside stuff. And people outside who are not familiar with it, but they got the real deal. And so, like you said, when you get down to nitty gritty, it feels like faith belongs in every marriage.
Yes,
it's supposed to be here. There's a place for faith in your marriage,
that's
right?
Good.
And it's a life. It's a spring that brings newness, brings oneness, togetherness into your marriage, bro.
Now, so what's interesting is that before we got to this now space, there was kind of a transition period. And I would say we both intentionally, full mind, full body, like, right, decided to kind of leave God out of our relationship. Like out of us personally, because we had a lot of church hurt, and specifically me, I had more church hurt than Junior. But like there was just a lot going on, and so anyways, so we just literally was just like, let's just try to do this thing without God. Like if you watch that girl on Instagram, she was like, I'm gonna see for myself.
I'm gonna see for myself.
I feel like we both was just like, I'm gonna see for myself.
For sure.
Like we just both decided.
And by the way, that always happens because when you master the outside appearance and it doesn't fill you on the inside, you're just gonna walk away because you're just like, I'm not gonna keep up with this life for y'all,
bro. It's too much.
I'm gonna go find something that fills me, bro.
Yeah.
Imagine me not being filled and then having to put the weight of keeping this up for y'all for what?
Yo, and for I think maybe a year, we just decided
longer than a year.
We just decided to do whatever we wanted to do. And that's really what it meant to like not have God in our relationship. So as individuals, we decided to do what we wanted to do, and as a couple, and it was terrible. It was terrible because although we were able to do what we wanted to do, the end result of that was more division. There was things that got into our marriage at that time that really harmed us.
Really harmed us. Really harmed us.
Still trying to get them out. Still trying to get them out. And I think that it tainted.
It was distance for me.
It tainted our relationship. Yeah. It tainted our marriage. It really just it was a distance for sure.
It was a distance for me because it was a distance. At that time, I was not seeking Christland. I was not seeking God.
It was yourself.
I was seeking myself.
Selfish.
And I'm a black hole.
Yeah.
And I'm insatiable. And there's nothing, and I can know when I'm not filled up.
Yeah.
But I have nothing else to live for. I'm gonna just keep living for myself. It was so hard without God to see Chrisland. That's the one thing I'll give the benefit to for people who grow up with God and grow up in the faith and know they're gonna marry a Christian. At least they're gonna have that pressure on themselves to
stand up to that moral code.
The moral code, right?
That
to
God
treat each
has
other
set.
right.
Yeah, to treat each other right.
Without God, my moral code was out the window.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly speaking.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I was not concerned for Chrisland. I was concerned for myself.
Yeah.
And I grew very distant from her.
Yeah. And I think at that time, a lot more confusion, a lot more, anxiety, depression, things like that, the normal things. And also just like, I would say for me, I think our relationship was tainted.
You know what I would say for me specifically? In that time, I walked away from God. I found a lot of answers. Yeah. Because I was at the church, wasn't getting answers. I walked away from God and I walked away from the church because I'm not doing this for y'all. I'm going to go find them for myself. Like you said, I got so many answers because I was asking. I was open. I was asking the world like what to do. And they were telling me. And they were giving me functional saviors. And I was feeling good.
Yeah.
And I was feeling really bad.
Yeah. And we were trying all of it.
I was trying everything that any person would tell me. Let me give you an example of a functional savior that killed me. oh man, you know what I mean? We gotta use porn, bro. Like, it's basically a glue. If your wife don't want to do it, use porn. If you want to get it going and make it more exciting in the bedroom, because eventually after using porn, the novelty is gonna wear off. So now you're gonna need more and more novelty in the bedroom. So that's a threesome, that's whatever. Oh, you don't want to do that? Just use porn. That's gonna get the excitement, the fire back in. Porn was introduced as like this tool, and I was like, okay, this is a tool. This is what the world's supposed to use. I was open to anything. And I was finding all these answers, and these answers were not filling me. It made it easier for me, at least. Some people really fall into this stuff and never come out, but it made it easier for me to look for something else after a while. After that year and a half, I was ready to go back to the church or try something. That shit was not working.
It just in you started we started to realize
Yeah.
that this is not going to end. Like, we will never be fulfilled. We will never, have
Like,
that satisfaction that we're actually looking for.
these answers
And
are not answers.
we felt more trapped than free. Because even though we freed ourselves, we're like, we're gonna do whatever the heck we want to do, right? We freed ourselves, but we felt more trapped and we felt more distant and more cold toward one another. So we end up going back to the church, in the sense of like reconnecting back with God and allowing Him into our personal lives, into our relationship. And our relationship really did take a 180 from there.